Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. In this video, I got a piece from CoinDesk titled Santander to Connect Latin America to Ripple-Powered Remittance Service. This is awesome news today. The tracks are being laid and the trains are going to be running. Well, actually, they are kind of. I just need more corridors, really. So we'll get into that. That's awesome news today. Also got something worth highlighting from the XRP community. And I mentioned this in a video yesterday. It looks like the individual is going to move forward with the idea. Somebody is going to be writing a book about XRP, so I thought I'd highlight that. And then I'll wrap up the video by covering a piece from Daily Hodl about the true identity of Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto. Did I say that right? Satoshi Nakamoto. Are we going to find out? Apparently, the answer is yes. Someone claims a new person that's not Craig Wright claiming to be Satoshi. So I thought that'd be before we wrap up the video. But before we get going, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. Let's jump right in here. Spanish megabank Santander Group is expanding its use of Ripple's technology. The bank is building a payment corridor that would let customers in Latin America send money to the United States instantly for free via OnePayFX, a mobile app that uses Ripple's Xcurrent software, officials told CoinDesk. Currently, only customers in the UK and Spain can send money to the United States over OnePayFX. While the bank would not reveal how many Latin American countries it plans to connect to the corridor, Santander serves Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, and Mexico. Like Santander's DLT efforts to date, the new payment capability will not involve XRP, the cryptocurrency that Ripple periodically sells to fund operations and that powers its separate XRapid product. Last year, Santander introduced OnePayFX in 4 countries that account for more than half the bank's profits: Spain, the UK, Brazil, and Poland. And so previously, and there have been stories over the last however many months that have been come up where I have covered OnePayFX, the mobile app. And it's always exciting to see these developments, and I know everybody wants to hear all about all the growth utilizing Ripple's XRapid technology, so that XRP, which we hold, actually gets used. I totally understand that, but it's okay. Like when something's using Xcurrent, understand that is almost 100% of the time. If a bank or financial institution is using that, it's almost 100% certainty that they can utilize XRapid in the future, as long as it makes sense given their particular business model and where they are operating. Which it really would for most individuals. It's just the reason, again, that you're really not seeing a ton of XRapid volume just yet is the corridors don't exist. Like look at what Ripple's doing. They've started with the most how do you want to word it? I guess the most exotic corridors. That might be one way to put it. They're starting with United States and the Philippines, United States and Mexico. Basically, they're starting with corridors where the pain points are the highest, and then they'll work their way down to corridors where maybe there's not quite as much friction, but it still makes sense to do it. And that is the right way to do it. That seems like a pretty reasonable approach to me. And so you would see more payment flows if the tracks are already magically laid, but hey, all good things in time here. And then, of course, there's the issue of regulatory clarity that is, of course, slowing things down. But not forever. You've seen over in the UK the FCA talking about how, hey, we see Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP pretty much is the same. And there's real utility there. So there's something to be said for that. And once you see more of that in the United States, you will see more banks jump on board. But I got to tell you, one of the things that's most exciting is, and I'm actually going to highlight it in a tweet coming up here. Somebody else in the XRP community brought it up today, which got me thinking about it again. But something like 20% of the production contracts for the calendar year of 2019 are XRapid contracts. So if you think it's not moving forward, you'd be wrong. It is actually moving forward. It just takes time for things to develop. Like I said, all good things in time. Anyway, this offering is getting traction. The bank says, and here's a quote now: customers who were not doing international transfers are now using the service. Customers who were using international transfer are now doing it more. And customers who had gone to use fintech competition have come back because of the one-day offering. Cedric Meniger, CEO of OnePayFX, told CoinDesk. Unlike the SWIFT messaging system that banks traditionally have used to make international transfers, OnePayFX on xCurrent is instant, has no fees, and gives users a view into currency exchange rates before they send money, Miniger says. And I want to clarify something on that. Specifically, what they should have written is that Ripple, to be clear, Ripple does charge for xCurrent. They charge Santander. Santander, if they don't want to charge their customers, that's perfectly fine. That's what they're actually getting out. It was not written clearly in that. But yes, of course, Ripple is charging for their technology. They should have caught that one. But hey, crypto media, man. I don't think that anybody proofreads what they write. So that's just kind of the way it goes here. Then they talk about volume growth, and this is pretty awesome here. While Santander would not reveal transaction volumes for OnePayFX, it said those volumes tripled from January 2019 to June. The bank's total cross-border volumes for Spain, including OnePayFX and other rails, increased 120% year over year in April. Expanding OnePayFX will mean a bigger change for some Latin American customers who will go from making international transfers in branches to instant online payments than for European customers, said Miniger. There's a quote: "The international payment experience in the Latin American markets is even less evolved than in the European markets," he said. "There are even parts of the Latin American market where it's almost impossible to do an online international payment." Isn't that amazing? Even in 2019, that's the state of affairs here. I always found it particularly amazing that, and I love the way that David Schwartz wrote it. David Schwartz being, of course, as I'm sure many of you know, Ripple's CTO, co-creator of the XRP ledger. He was talking about how what they found when they were initially coming up, they were kind of formulating the early days of Ripple. What's our business model? What's it going to look like? And initially, they envisioned that they were going to make banks, their customers, actually utilize cryptocurrency. That was originally part of the plan, and there was so much pushback on that, and they decided, no, that doesn't work. We're not going to do it. And so they started working on just the messaging portion of their software, which, of course, ultimately became xCurrent. And David Schwartz opined that it was kind of astonishing that just the idea of having a proper messaging platform was so needed that in and out of itself was a product. Even without cryptocurrency being used, just the messaging portion, forget the settlement, just the messaging payments portion, was such a terrible experience that just that alone was a product. So it's not surprising to me that that banks have, by and large, jumped on board. And then it's still, just don't forget too, there is such a thing as a network effect, and the more banks join and utilize xCurrent, the more valuable it is for future banks when they join to utilize xCurrent. And then once you've got all those on the network, it's going to make it much easier to start utilizing XRP for actual settlement, especially for the most exotic corridors where you have a whole lot of intermediaries in between. So it is all coming indeed. Let me share you with this. This is just a short Twitter thread I wanted to share. It's on the same topic here. And The Block tweeted out their article on the topic that I just covered. Spanish banking giant Santander is preparing to launch a new remittance service in Latin America using Ripple's xCurrent solution, which does not use XRP. And I like how they made sure to just go out of their way to say, hey, this doesn't use XRP, because you know the narrative that Bitcoin maxis go with, and you gotta assume that many of these writers are of the Bitcoin maxi mentality. Anyway, Dave Jones responded. He's a valued XRP community member, wrote, "Today, around 20% of sales are xRapid, which is a liquidity product utilizing XRP directly. xCurrent and xVia can both utilize XRP too, however. You cannot know for sure whether Santander is using XRP or not from the outside. MoneyGram uses xVia, for example." And that is true. You don't technically know who's using xRapid, and that's part of the reason I want to bring this up. Specifically with OnePayFX, so we do know that. It might have been in this piece. I didn't want to read from this one, but I had it open. Here we go. So here's as far as it pertains to Santander and OnePayFX, there's a quote from a Santander spokesperson that says, xCurrent does charge for the... Oh, maybe that's not what I was... Oh, no, here we go. No, it is what I look at. xCurrent does charge for the service, which is what I covered. Santander is one that does not charge fees in its solution. Santander has always used xCurrent for OnePayFX, which does not need XRP to work. So that's official. That part is... But the point that Dave Jones made, it's still not lost on me, and you don't know what banks today could be using XRP. And I've maintained that, to me, I don't know. If you were like some of the first few banks to jump on this amazing technology, which gives you this competitive edge, major competitive edge in specific corridors anyway, against whoever it may be, do you really want to broadcast that? So I've always got a question, like, of course, the word has to get out. I totally understand it, and then you can have an increased value of the network effect, but if you're one of the first ones, do you really want the cat out the bag? I'm not so sure. And so anyway, as a result, we know that there are over 20 X-Rapid customers out there today. We don't really know who all of them are, and they keep adding new customers on a regular basis. I think they're adding somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 customers per week, which seriously is a lot. And customers can be onboarded quickly. And as it pertains to upgrading, the service from Xcurrent to using a blend of Xcurrent and Xrapid, the good news is it can take, I can't remember the specifics, but you can upgrade to Xrapid really quick. Implementation, I think it was something like a matter of days is what I last read. So it's not literally the flip of a switch, but can happen pretty darn quickly. Anyway, and then XRP Research Center jumped in here and wrote, "It's risky to imply that OnePayFX engages with XRP, although we can't know for sure. I believe we can know for sure, as I just thought, but XRP Research Center, I guess, didn't know that. It's okay. But it writes, I believe it's safe to assume that Santander just leverages their existent fiat liquidity arrangements. They serve their previously available corridors where they have fiat requirements already." And then Dave wrote, "Who implied OnePayFX utilizes XRP? Santander mentioned the app didn't need XRP to function, which should have been clear to anyone." That's true. But with Ripple upgrading all clients to Xcurrent 4.0, you simply can't tell from the outside whether XRP is tapped into or not at some point. And that's a fair point as well. So another reason I thought this thread was a good one. And somebody named Alex Effie wrote, "Couldn't one average the transaction fees and deduce which Ripple product was being used? Presumably the Xrapid transactions would be appreciably less expensive." And XRP Research Center wrote, "In the short term, I'd say it makes the most sense for them to leverage Xrapid for the addition of new corridors where they don't have banking presence. For instance, it would be really exciting to see OnePayFX/PagoFX adding the possibility to remit to/from the Philippines." So, and then Dave Jones wrote, "This and take over expensive exotic corridors where Xrapid eliminates the high cost and risk factors." Exactly. And XRP Research Center wrote, "And most importantly in the short term, where they don't already complying with minimum liquidity requirements." And then Dave wrote, "Another intriguing aspect for sure." So these guys are all over it. I, by and large, agree with what they're saying here, and it makes sense. Let's be real. If you follow them on Twitter, you already know, too, like, they're in the know. They keep themselves apprised of stuff on a daily basis, which I pride myself on doing as well. Given I'm running an XRP-centric YouTube channel, I better be doing that, right? All right, next piece here. This is a tweet from Ken Melendez, and I did cover this yesterday. There was a tweet yesterday, or I guess it was technically from 2 days ago, but I covered it yesterday. And he wrote, "I'm considering writing another book, this time on XRP and publishing it on Amazon. XRP community, if you feel this would help drive global adoption, please retweet this." If this tweet receives 100 retweets, I will begin the outline on Monday. Appreciate your support. So I went ahead and retweeted it and covered it on the channel here. And looks like he hit that number he wanted to hit. So he wrote today, just several hours ago, "Okay, XRP community, I am developing the outline for the XRP ebook and paperback back as promised. Thank you for your continued support. This is going to be exciting. Stay tuned for updates." So as there are developments, I will be happy to report this. I'm happy to do, I should probably do more of this. I like spotlighting community members. There are just so many incredible people in the XRP community. I'm quite proud to be a part of it. But when I see stuff like this, I want to go out of my way to kind of highlight it. And so I hope that this pans out. I hope he's able to complete the project, and I will read it. If you write it, I will read it. So please make it. All right, last piece of this video, dailyhodl.com. Self-professed Satoshi Nakamoto publishes part 1 of, quote, "My Reveal." A man claiming to be the anonymous creator of Bitcoin has published the first article in a 3-part series that will supposedly unveil the identity of the cryptocurrency mastermind known as Satoshi Nakamoto. In part 1 of My Reveal, the self-professed Satoshi says he grew up in Pakistan and his father worked at United Bank Limited, a Pakistani multinational bank based in Karachi. Nakamoto says he was deeply affected when the UK's central banks shut down Pakistan's scandal-ridden Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, in 1991, as well as the global financial collapse and Great Recession that began in 2008. And here's a quote now. "On a personal level, When I visited the UK in 2005, no bank would open its doors for me to give me access to a bank account because I didn't have a permanent UK address. Without a bank account, I had no access to online facilities, and I didn't know how to overcome this obstacle. I felt like a failure and was humiliated by the banks, so I made it my mission to invent something that would enable a common layperson to access money without involving the big banks. I wanted to empower the poor person, empower the little man, and create something that was accessible as the people's money, the people's bank, with no boundaries, no nationalities, and no discrimination, where nothing was controlled by the government and where no one dictated and destroyed people for the sake of misplaced politics. Even a poor kid with limited education could potentially reap the benefits from Bitcoin while sitting in China, India, or Africa. I was driven to create something that would change finance and the banking world forever and would give people the power, taking away the central bank's control. Okay. I read this. The reason that for that specific little chuckle is I am so skeptical of this. I'm going to take all the information in because I don't form opinions until I have a sufficient amount of information. That's just the way I conduct myself in life. But I can't help but feel skeptical prior to learning whatever it is they're going to put out here. Anyway, the piece continues. After studying cryptography, Nakamoto says he began to build Bitcoin with Hal Finney in 2006. Finney, a computer scientist who passed away in 2014, is well known for working with Satoshi and famously proclaimed he had successfully started running a Bitcoin node back in 2009. And here's a tweet, January 10th, 2009, running Bitcoin. Helping. In the past, Nakamoto also publishes images of a computer he claims to have used to mine Bitcoin back in the early days. The computer is a Fujitsu Lifebook laptop, and then they give the model numbers I'm not going to read, doesn't matter. The post concludes by thanking Finney for his contributions to Bitcoin and promises to reveal the name and identity of Nakamoto on August 20th. So that's tomorrow. And then here's a quote. Hal knew from day one that I was neither a cyberpunk nor a hardcore techie, but he always said that he liked my sincerity and smartness in things that no one else could envision. He liked when I talked about signs in people, and he mentioned that in his last post on the 19th of March 2013 on Bitcoin Talk. Today, Satoshi's true identity has become a mystery, he said, but at the time, I thought I was dealing with a young man of Japanese ancestry who was very smart and sincere. I've had the good fortune to know many brilliant people over the course of my life, so I recognized the signs. I think he used this post as a way to communicate with me as he knew all my emails had been hacked. Unfortunately, by the time I looked at the post in 2015, he was gone forever. Man, that's something. Are you guys buying any of this stuff yet? I want to kind of check the pulse in the room here. And then this concludes it states, the digital marketing agency Ivy McLemore and Associates published the piece and claims it's a transcription of Nakamoto's words. The New York-based agency has strongly denied the notion that the series is an elaborate PR stunt. Well, it sure feels like a PR stunt. This is all over crypto media. Anyway, the real Satoshi can prove his identity by signing a message with the address from the very first Bitcoin block. Until then, crypto leaders like Litecoin's Charlie Lee say they're taking the new post from the self-professed Bitcoin creator with a grain of salt, which sounds pretty reasonable to me, by the way. So what do you think? Feel free to drop a comment below. That's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!